Hey there, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. I mentioned that I was planning to go live today at 12:30 to talk to you about what I have been doing in terms of my eating. And so I've titled this my new quote-unquote diet because I don't like the term diet, but I guess that's what you would call what it is that I have been testing out and doing. And I mentioned in my post where I said that I was going to come on to talk about this, that I started doing this before going on vacation, and so I've been doing it for about 3 weeks now, and in that time I have lost weight, which was not a goal of mine, and it's not the most important thing at all to me. In fact, feeling better was what I was really after, but that's been a byproduct of this, and I know that that's something that is important to a lot of people, so I wanted to throw that out there. But I've lost 5 pounds, my bloat is gone, I have more energy. Many of you know that I've been dealing with chronic back pain for over a year now, and that pain has been tremendously reduced. I talked a lot about that in my live video from Monday about inflammation causing food, so if you haven't watched that video, you might want to check that one out. I feel that my emotional health is very much improved. I share pretty openly online that I struggle with anxiety and depression, and I really have felt like that has been completely different since I started doing this. I'm noticing that my muscle tone is improving tremendously. I work out a lot. You guys know that. I'm a fitness instructor. I do my workouts at home. My muscle tone is improving. And I really feel like my cravings are not controlling me, which I have not been shy about saying that I'm a huge sweet tooth. I love carbs and I love sweets. And I really feel like that has been under control as well. So I wanted to come on live and talk to you guys about this, as well as you will see in the title of my video that I've included a link to a free Facebook group that I set up for people who might be interested in learning more about this in a more like private setting where I can kind of give some more information. But I've mentioned a handful of times now that I've been trying some new things with my nutrition as a result of things that I discovered while I was researching PCOS for the program that I have been creating for other women who have PCOS. And specifically, I've been researching nutrition and the impact that nutrition has on our symptoms for those of us with that condition. So let me first preface this by saying that although my condition is the reason that I started this new way of eating, that's not what I'm going to talk about today in this video. What I'm going to share has nothing to do with that. It was simply the catalyst for me to find this kind of eating and start researching it, and then to decide to test it for myself. So through researching, I kept coming across the recommendation for a low-carb, high-fat diet, or even something that is a huge buzz term right now, even a ketogenic diet, as being excellent for people who have PCOS because of insulin issues and the fact that carbs and sugars are what play such a major role in insulin responses in our bodies. And so that is the reason why I started looking at it. So I started digging in a bit and into the studies about why this helps people like me, and I had to admit that what I was reading made a heck of a lot of sense. And at the exact same time, which I don't think is a coincidence, at the exact same time, several of my coach friends were talking about the increased interest in ketogenic diets and in low carb, high fat diets, and how people were asking them more about them. So these are people who are fellow coaches of mine within Beachbody. And people were asking all these questions about it. And so we all decided together to form a group and kind of start learning about it and start testing it out for ourselves. So there's like 100 of us that decided, over a month ago to do this because we were getting questions about it and we wanted to learn more and we wanted to kind of see, what kind of results we would get. So that's kind of how this all started. It was kind of happenstance a little bit. Now you have to remember a couple of things about me first. First of all, I have never been one to follow a diet. I've never been one to want to endorse any kind of quote unquote diet, any kind of extreme measures I've always been against, and I've always kind of considered something like an Atkins diet or a keto diet or a diet that really like almost eliminates any kind of food. I've always considered that to be kind of an extreme measure. So that's always just for me been like, oh no, cool if it works for somebody else or that's what they want to do, but it's not something that I'm interested in. So my guard was kind of up with all this. The other thing is that I have always been a proponent of carbs and I've always maintained the belief that we need them, which we do. So hear me there, we do need them. but I'm learning new things about what we need in terms of them. And in fact, about a year ago, I had posted on my page about carbs. I was like educating people about carbs and why we needed them and which kinds of grains were the healthiest and which ones you should choose. And a friend of mine commented on the post and said, actually, that's not necessarily true. There's a lot more research coming out saying that we really don't need grains in our diets and that you can get your carbs from, your fruits and vegetables and all this other stuff. And honestly, at the time, I read his comments and I was like, oh, yeah, I kind of poo-pooed it. And I thought, this person I thought was just kind of trying to challenge me a little bit. And although I knew this person was a fit and healthy person, I really just thought, no, this is the way I've believed. This is what I've been taught through my nutrition certification. This is, this is what I follow. So I just didn't really listen. And so I'm coming back around to realize that person was really accurate with it. And in fact, I reached out to him recently and he said, yeah, that's the kind of studies that I was talking about. So anyway, these two things I already had in my mind, you guys. So this is not me being like, oh, this is a really new trendy thing, a new popular thing. I think I'm going to jump on it and do it. And it's also was not born out of, I want my body to look a different way. Really, my digging into this and my trying this was born out of, I want to get rid of my chronic pain, and this is supposed to help that. And I want to manage my PCOS symptoms and to deal with that issue that we're struggling with infertility. So that was really my motivation for it. So jumping into testing this really did kind of go against any of my long-held beliefs about nutrition. But as the saying goes, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results, right? So I figured, what's the harm in giving it a try and testing it out? So I did. And like I said, even in that first week, you guys, I could just tell a huge difference. And my husband can attest to this. I was like, I have more energy. My cravings are different. I don't feel like my appetite is out of control. My bloat was like just totally gone. My energy in my workouts was different. The 2 weeks before I started, 2 weeks before vacation, I started doing morning workouts and I was loving them. I've never loved morning workouts. And I was even doing them on the days when I was teaching in the evening, and normally I would not do 2 workouts a day. It's not something that I think anybody needs to do really. But I had the energy to do it and I felt fine, and normally I would have been fighting through pain in order to do that. So I really just couldn't believe the change in how I felt, which is why I started getting convinced, okay, this might be for me. And if this is for me, this is probably for a lot of other people as well. People who have been stuck in weight loss plateaus, people who feel like they're bloated all the time even though they're trying to eat really healthy and they're exercising, people who struggle with chronic pain, people who deal with insulin resistance issues. The list goes on and on about people that it could probably benefit, and I have a lot of those issues that I just listed. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what this is. First of all, let me say that I am actually not jumping in and following a ketogenic diet. I'm not putting actually a label on anything that I'm doing. I have simply reversed like where my calories are coming from within what I'm eating in a day. So anybody who's watching this and you're like a hardcore ketogenic or low carb, high fat person, and you're like thinking, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm not following one of those diets specifically. I basically just transition where my calories are coming from so that I have a lot more fat in my diet and and by a lot I mean a lot less carbs, because I was a carb addict. Even though it was healthy carbs, I was choosing the whole grains and I was eating quinoa and all that stuff, I was still way overeating carbs, which is causing inflammation and holding on to weight and all that kind of stuff. So I do want to give you a little bit of education just on the basics of what kind of a keto or low carb, high fat diet is. Basically, keto is a low carb, high fat diet, and it's designed to turn your body into using fat for fuel instead of using glucose or sugar. And by focusing on feeding the body very reduced levels of carbohydrates, which are glucose and sugar, and very increased levels of fat, the body transitions to utilizing fat as a fuel source rather than using glucose. So a keto or a low carb, high fat diet restricts your intake of starchy foods like breads and pastas and things like that. And instead you get carbs from, vegetables and healthy fats and fruits and those kinds of things. It helps your body to transition where it's getting its energy from. So glucose is the primary source of energy in our bodies. It's the most readily accessible source of energy. And if we're eating carbs regularly in our diet, lots of them, then our body is always going to the carbs to use as our energy because it's the most accessible. It's what our bodies like the most. So it's constantly going to that, which means it's never really tapping into fat as a source of energy, which means we're never really depleting our fat storage. So if you're somebody who struggles with, feeling like you're eating well and you're exercising, but you can't get rid of stubborn fat, you can't get rid of excess weight, you've hit a plateau of some sort, even though you've been eating healthy and all of that, it's very likely that it is because your body is not ever tapping into its fat stores as its energy source because it's constantly burning sugar through the carbohydrates that you're eating. So that is the premise behind a low carb, high fat or ketogenic diet. And ketogenic comes from the term ketosis, which is a natural metabolic state in our bodies. Ketosis is not owned by the diet term ketogenic. It is a state in our body. It's a metabolic state where we're burning fat for fuel, and that's where it comes from. So our bodies are incredibly, isn't it so fascinating, Amber? I know. It's been hard for me to concentrate on work that I need to do because I've just been immersing myself in learning. I've bought books, I'm listening to audio, and I've been studying this, for how it can help my body as well as how it can help a lot of my clients, because I know so many of you struggle with the same things that I do, and that's why you've come to me, because you struggle with those things. And so many of you have, come to me and said, I'm doing this stuff, I'm exercising, I'm eating well, I'm doing this. What am I doing wrong because I can't seem to shift this piece? I can't seem to drop this weight, or I can't seem to reduce my fat, or I feel bloated all the time, all that kind of stuff. So like I said, ketosis is a natural process the body initiates when we deplete our glycogen stores, when we deplete the sugar in our body, and our body starts pulling fat as its fuel source. Now, you may be thinking, but wait, Lindy, I'm your client, and I have heard you talk before about how we need to be fueling our bodies regularly, because if we don't, our body will go into starvation mode and we'll start using muscle for fuel. Well, that is wrong. It's a lie that we've all been fed, probably partly through the food industry, so that we will just keep consuming foods that we don't necessarily need. But the truth is, and I should have known this, but the truth is it wasn't in the nutrition education that I received. The truth is that when we deplete the glycogen stores, our body goes to fat as its next fuel source. It doesn't start eating away at our muscle. Our muscle is not the fuel source. So when there's nothing left in the sugar or glycogen storage in our body, then that next available resource is fat. So that's how it works. And I believe that is why I have, been able to drop weight, been able to drop bloat. I also think because fat is so important in our diet in terms of healthy joints and mental clarity and all that kind of stuff, that's why I've found renewed energy and a decrease in my level of pain and all of that kind of stuff. So, like I said before, no, I am not jumping into following a ketogenic diet. I'm not measuring my level of, ketosis. Some of you may not even know what I'm talking about, but I just haven't gone that far. Really, I felt like all I needed to do was make a shift in where I was getting my calories from. And so I have shifted to I've eliminated grains. I'm not eating bread. I'm not eating grains other than the French toast that I had when I was on vacation. I'm not eating grains and all that kind of stuff. And by not eating them, I have noticed that I'm not craving them either, which means I'm not craving cookies and sweets and all that kind of stuff, which I absolutely love, but I'm not craving it because I'm not eating it all the time. And I am getting much more of my calories from fats in my diet. So avocados and full eggs rather than just egg whites. And, I'm not a big dairy eater. So, a lot of people with this kind of diet will eat full fat dairy. I'm not a big dairy consumer, partly due to PCOS, but nuts and nut butters. I see that Matt said it sounds like Atkins. It is and it isn't. So Atkins is much more higher protein based. It's my understanding is that Atkins is high protein, moderate fat, low carb, whereas low carb, high fat or ketogenic is high fat, moderate protein, very low carb. So it is a little bit different, but in the research that I've been doing and what I've been learning about it, the basis, for the ketogenic diet, a lot of it did come out of like the research that was found in Atkins' diet and the studies that came out of what the results that people were getting with that. So why am I talking about this? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, because it is a big buzz term right now. There's a lot of people talking about this kind of way of eating. And, to be totally honest, when this happens, a lot of people start jumping in and doing it just because it's a fad. And that's not really smart, because it may not be right for you. You may not need to do it. A lot of people will see the kind of transformations that come out of it, and they'll jump into doing it because they want to lose weight, but they don't do it the right way, and they don't really actually learn about it. And what I love about what I've done over the last few weeks, especially when I've partnered with hundreds of other coaches and we've all been kind of testing it and learning together, is that I've been just trying it, like rather than going in and being like, okay, I am now on this diet and I have to do this, this, and this, and I better follow it to a T. I've been just kind of playing with it and testing it out. And through that, I've been learning a lot, and I've also been seeing the kind of responses that I have in my body. So I'm talking about this because there's a lot of buzz about it, and I'm getting questions personally. I've been getting some questions about it, so I figured might as well, get online and share about it. I'm sharing about it because obviously I'm testing it out for myself, and I'm making a bit of a U-turn in my eating habits, and I'm finding that it's helping me tremendously. I can't even tell you guys really how good I feel and how different I feel from how I used to. My mental clarity, pain, all those kinds of things. If it were not tacky to do so, I'd even just like stand up and show you my flat belly right now, because I'm just like, I just can't believe it, because I'm just not used to feeling this way all the time. And then because anytime there's something new, like I said, people tend to jump in before they have the information. So I really want to help with that. I want to help people. I'm working on something that will focus on teaching people about this type of eating to help you to figure out if it's the right thing for you. And this is, to teach you about inflammation causing foods and maybe just shifts that you need to make and where your calories are come from and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I've spent a lot of time researching it and learning about it and trying it for myself. But it's not for everyone. Within that group of 100 coaches that I've been partnering with, there are some people who said, this just really isn't for me. I don't feel good on this. I don't necessarily think that I need this kind of diet, and that's great. The thing is that we're all individuals. We all have different sets of DNA. We all have different hormonal imbalances and all that kind of stuff, and so much of it is based on our genetics, but so much of it is also based on our habits over the course of our life. So this isn't for everyone. But for the people who want to know if maybe it is for them, I want to be able to help and just answer questions based on what I've learned. So while I'm working on kind of a formatted, structured way to be able to teach about this and to be able to, to be able to share like the plan that I've been following, which is kind of what I want to do, I decided to just go ahead and open up a group for people who might be interested in just kind of learning more. So Matt says, I'm down 8 pounds basically doing what you're saying in 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, I've got friends that have had amazing transformations in the course of a couple of months. And like I said, I don't want this to be something that people jump on because they're like, oh my gosh, it's the next way I can lose weight, and looking at it as a diet. I'm really approaching it as more of, gosh, this just seems like it's what is so much better for my body in all aspects. And the truth is, we've had it ingrained in us, even though we're moving out of the phase of, in our society where everything was low fat, fat free, reduced fat diet, all that kind of stuff, and processed and, all that, even though we're kind of moving away from that, thank God, we are still very much a society that thinks that fat is a very bad thing and that we're not supposed to have it in our diet, so that we're supposed to have very limited quantities. I mean, if you look at what the USDA guidelines are, it's like super heavy carbs and low fat, low protein. So anyway, I want to be able to help people with this, kind of give you some of the resources that I have found, help you figure out if maybe it's something that would be good for you. So if you are interested in that at all, getting a little bit of support, getting a little bit of help, just use that link. It's right there in my video title. You can click on that, request to join. I'll approve your request to join, and then we'll get chatting in there about some stuff. And like I said, I am working on kind of more of a structured, formatted way to teach people what I am doing, and that I'm following like a specific plan with it, although it's not the keto diet. I want to give you those resources. So if you're interested in that, please use the link, join, share this with friends if you want to. If you have friends that you know deal with these kinds of things, like the bloat and the excess weight, and they're doing all the right things, and they can't seem to get results, share this with them. If you have friends who have issues with, insulin and chronic pain and those kinds of things, share this with them. I'm not saying that it's the solution, but I am saying why not take a look, right? Why not, try it out for yourself? And that's really all this group that I'm setting up is meant to be. I see that Chelsea says she doesn't think that the link is working. I will make sure when I end this live video, I will make sure that link is accurate, and I'll update it if it's not. So, and just shoot me a message if it doesn't work for you for some reason, and I can get you added. So, yeah, so that's what I've been doing in a nutshell, you guys, and I'm excited about it. The other thing I have noticed is that I do not, my appetite is much different. I don't feel like all the time, like I'm like, what am I going to eat next? What am I going to eat next? And I can really only attribute that to the fact that I'm eating more healthy fats in my diet, and it's keeping me satiated longer, which is awesome, because I don't necessarily like thinking about food all the time. Okay, you guys, so if you're interested, use the link. I would love to talk to you. We can connect there. I'll give you resources. You can decide, is this something I want to check out with Lindy or not? No pressure. It's just informational for you. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. I hope you're having a good day. Talk to you soon.